Good afternoon, everybody on the line today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Peter Graham, Managing Director on the investment banking team at Echelon. And I'm very excited to have Peter Evans, CEO and Director of Xtract One Technologies, join us today. Xtract One trades on the TSX under ticker XTRA, and they're a leading AI-powered weapon detection company focused on perimeter screening and security. And really, they're replacing obsolete walk-through metal detectors with their smart gateway technology. Xtract One has proven demand for their offering by winning contracts with leading live entertainment venues, manufacturing facilities, schools, casinos, and hospitals, which provide for a market opportunity of tens of billions of dollars in North America alone, and well north of $100 million on a global scale. In addition to these contract wins with leading entities, technology has been further validated by a number of external elements, including I'll call it government-led security validation, strategic operating partnerships with groups like the Oakview Group, and then even a strategic $10 million US investment that closed earlier this year from MSG Sports, which is the investment arm of Madison Square Gardens, who owns obviously their namesake stadium in New York City, and also the new Sphere in Las Vegas, in addition to other venues. So with that brief intro, I'm going to turn it over to Peter Evans to dig deeper into Xtract One.
Okay, hopefully everyone can see this. I'm Peter, and thank you to the previous presenters, who talked about things like debugging and neuroscience and things like that. Let me change the tact and the approach a little bit here. How many people on this call are comfortable with guns in schools? Bit of a rhetorical question. How many people are comfortable with the number of mass shootings that are going on across North America? Probably not a lot. A child brought a gun into my daughter's school 6 weeks ago on a Monday with a gun and 50 rounds in a backpack when threatened to shoot it up. So this is personal to me. We're going to talk a bit about pragmatic AI. We're going to talk a bit about how AI can actually be applied in the real world to solve real world problems that are very topical right now. So let's click forward just a little bit. First off, let's a quote and a reference to Gilda Radner. What's all this I hear about AI? We've had a lot of discussions today about AI and all kinds of different applications to it. But if you think about AI, it just celebrated its 68th birthday. This is nothing new. It's kind of getting hyped up a lot in the industry these days, which is a good thing, because I think we're actually hitting kind of an inflection point. AI to me is just math. I'm an applied math guy. AI is very good at taking billions of data points and correlating them down to the one or two things that are important, right? Which is just math at massive scale. The interesting thing, though, is AI's got a little bit of a bad rap also, because it's been around for 68 years. And if you think of things, from my perspective, like the Gartner hype cycle, the Gartner hype cycle applies here. AI has struggled for many, many years. It's not new. It's not the last year. It's not the last 2 years. AI has been around for a long time. But like everything in the Gartner hype cycle, you go through this irrational, excitement, and then you go through a trough of disillusionment. And then you get back to pragmatic applications. You start to see those take hold as you start to get real world applications. Unfortunately, though, AI, like many other situations, has been a product looking for a problem. And what I've seen from my experience in the AI world is, for AI to be applicable, you have to have a purpose-built set of data. I think some of the other CEOs talked about that. You have to have a specific AI engine to correlate that data and a presentation layer to make sense of it to the audience that you're targeting. This is very, very different in all cases, and oftentimes as a product out versus a customer back approach, you're going to find that AI solutions, great engines, looking for a problem to solve. In our case, we've built a purpose-built product to solve a specific problem in the marketplace. Now, what we're seeing is there's this perfect storm occurring for the place that we're sitting in. This year so far, as of May, the last time I looked at a database, there was 350 mass casualty events in North America from gun incidences. That was more than 250% more than there were days in the year when that statistic came out. So 2.5 mass casualties a day. This is defined as 4 or more people being shot. So, single incidents don't count. This is a pandemic that's not going away. It's very topical, and it's actually economy independent. Whether we're in a depression or a boom time, security issues continue to proliferate. We've also got significant societal unrest since the pandemic. And as a result, we're seeing more and more of these kinds of incidents and more risks. And I think many people would agree that they're not feeling safe in places where you used to feel safe. Marry this against a declining labor force and an approach to security that's always been defined by a labor-based business model. Labor-based business models do not scale. And as the security issues continue to proliferate, we cannot keep addressing an old world problem with old world solutions. Labor-based business models just don't scale, and they're reactive in nature. Now we've also got the application of AI, which is very good at dealing with scale at a mass level. And to deal with this issue, we find that we're sitting in the sweet spot of an intersection point or a fulcrum point as all these things come together. So what do we do? Every single person on this call has gone to Toronto Blue Jays baseball game. Maybe you've gone to a theater event. Maybe you've gone to some other event where you've had to go through a walk-through metal detector. That's shown on the left here. This is a typical experience of going through a walk-through metal detector. Metal detectors were developed about 80 years ago for the penitentiary system to make sure that prisoners were not carrying small little pieces of metal like bobby pins on them to open up the handcuffs. When a 9/11 occurred, the marketplace said, we have got to start protecting places that are at risk or that are a threat, where people gather. Football stadiums, basketball stadiums, NHL stadiums, convention centers, train stations, airports, all of these sorts of things started to adopt the metal detector as the proxy for detecting weapons. The problem is, as the problem has escalated more and more, we see long lines, which in themselves are now becoming soft targets, such as what happened at the Ariana Grande concert in Manchester, where someone actually targeted the crowd, not the inside of the venue. On the right here, you see our technology, the Smart Gateway solution. The AI engines that propel this technology were developed by an organization out of Vancouver, Xtract AI, which was building software for the Department of National Defense to identify specifically objects and classify what those objects were, particularly on cameras that were sitting on things like the belly of an F-16 fighter jet. The quality of that information is what's being put into these pillars, as you see this lady walking through, that go into venues like arenas, stadiums, schools, manufacturing, distribution locations. Individuals simply walk right through, just like they're walking down the sidewalk. If they have a weapon, a knife or a gun on them, it'll alert them and stop them. If they don't have a weapon on them, they just walk right through, like this lady did here with her purse or cell phone or watch or wallet or keys. We're digitally transforming what has historically been a labor-based business model. In the same way that we've seen things like Amazon completely reinvent the segment for retail, the same way that we've seen organizations like SoftBank and Nubank, or SoFi and Nubank, completely reinvent, the physical security or the physical marketplace for banking. So we're doing the same thing for physical security. Why do investors choose us? Interestingly, and we'll talk about this in a little more detail, it's a significant and growing addressable market, about $135 billion worldwide. We targeted a small segment of this marketplace a few years ago when we started to reinvent the company and target specific activities around weapons detection. The fortunate or unfortunate thing is the market's not waiting for us, and they grabbed us by the waist and they're pulling us faster down the highway into new segments than we originally imagined. There's high barriers to entry here. Not only are the AI models complex and they have to be purpose-built specifically for weapons, but there's sensor technology, physical technology that's very complex also, and many have tried and few have actually succeeded here. Our AI is purpose-built to solve this problem, and that is very unique, to separate this as a cell phone versus this as a small knife. It's tested and proven technology with organizations like the Transport Safety Administration of the US, putting us into a lab for about a year and testing us, and we're now on the security screening product catalog for the TSA in the US. Very compelling growth and momentum for our company. In the first 3 quarters of this fiscal year, we announced 790% growth over the same 9 months of the prior year, and we don't see that trajectory changing at all. Most importantly to me, though, is there's a compelling customer ROI, and we'll talk about that in a moment. This is all useless unless the customer has a very compelling reason to be making the change from what their traditional approach was and doing something new. Let's talk about that ROI very simply. So every single one of us has experienced going through a walk-through metal detector, taking stuff out of your pockets, putting it in the bin, going through, alerting, taking off your belt buckle. It's annoying. It's invasive. It slows us down. I just bought $1,000 tickets on the 50-yard line to go see the New York Giants play. I don't want to be standing in line for 45 minutes to an hour waiting to get in while some idiot in front of me has forgotten to take the keys out of his pocket. Not a very good brand experience for the stadiums if that's what we're inflicting upon our fans, particularly as they return back from COVID and they're looking for engaging experiences once again. The average walk-through metal detector gets about 5 people through it a minute. With our solution, because we're only alerting on weapons, everyone just keeps walking in a fast stream. So optimized, we're probably getting about 40 to 50 people through a minute, or about 10x the number of people. What does this mean in terms of a case study? Well, overall, 7 to 10 times the patron throughput, up to 80% efficiencies in OpEx, because I no longer need as many lanes with as many security guards to manage the influx of people. And with advanced digital insights that are collected by the AI algorithms of the engines and presented to the customer, they can fine-tune their business operations to understand, why do I have lines at one place versus another? How can I use this data for improving concession sales? How can I use this data to understand one event's uniqueness versus another event's uniqueness, and using those data insights to further optimize their business model? So a specific example here is the Moody Center in Austin, Texas. We count amongst our customers arenas like Madison Square Gardens in the United States, the Sphere in Las Vegas, Kia Automotive, Hyundai, a very, very large electric auto manufacturing company, schools, hospitals, Acrisure Arena in Palm Desert, segment after segment after segment. The Moody Center is a very interesting one. This stadium opened up in April last year. It's probably one of the busiest, and actually has won an award for being the busiest stadium of its size, arena of its size, anywhere in the world. They hold about 17,000 individuals and about 225-ish events per year at present rate. Their security strategy was using 42 walk-through metal detectors and about 85 security staff per event. Now they're using about 9 lanes of our smart gateway and about 27 total security staff. So the $2.4 million that they were spending on security staff salaries every year has now been reduced to somewhere in the neighborhood of about $1 million. Now, they've got to pay us a little bit of money. Obviously, we're a for-profit organization, but they've saved themselves over $700,000. It's close to about $900,000 a year of OpEx, which has gone straight to the bottom line of EBITDA. More interesting and compelling, all of the fans who are going to that venue are in 55% faster, and the food and beverage sales have significantly increased. So from a value proposition point of view, the customer is saving a lot of money, happy fans who are in much faster and are buying a lot more food and beverage, and they've got digital insights that they can continuously improve their overall business, all through the value of what AI has done to replace a historically labor-based approach to providing security in the environment. So what has this has meant to us with this kind of a delivery and this kind of outcome? 2 years ago, coming out of COVID, we had a couple of pilots, a couple of contracts, really nothing to be too proud about. Looking forward, our business has accelerated. I mentioned some of the customers. We're sitting on about $86 million of qualified pipeline, and we're growing incredibly fast. Our original business model was to target stadiums and arenas, places that already had walk-through metal detectors, and we could shift the revenue or the business spend to something that was better, faster, cheaper. What we found, though, is these markets aren't waiting for us. One of the auto manufacturers I mentioned discussed the fact that 12 months before putting us in place, they had 3 gun incidences on the factory floor where fights broke out and someone pulled a gun. This is not an environment that I think anybody wants for their business model. We've also worked with very large retailers, one who had an employee come in, a disgruntled employee, and shoot 6 others. Unfortunately, this is the way of the world, and unfortunately, it's causing our business to be very, very successful. And I mentioned the growth numbers from our first 3 quarters of this year. These markets are coming to us faster than we originally planned. Our original plan was to go after stadiums and arenas very, very quickly. However, manufacturing, distribution centers, hospitals, healthcare organizations, as an aside, in New York, the nursing strike that occurred in New York City at the early part of this year, in the January-February timeframe, the number one grievance from the nurses was, you need to protect us. You need to protect us at work. So hospitals, healthcare, schools, all the school systems right now in North America are now starting to deploy weapons detection solutions, but they're looking for something that does not make it feel like their kids are going to a penitentiary every day. They're looking for something that's fast, that's frictionless. The kids can enter into school just like they did before, and yet they're screened in a very covert manner. Accordingly, while we were targeting initially a $4.6 billion market, where we felt that we had a very good fit, the other markets aren't waiting. And the pull from the $135 billion customer segments has grabbed us by the collar and is dragging us much faster than we originally planned. And accordingly, we're scaling up our business to deal with that volume. So at the end of the day, unless you believe that weapons are going away, and unless you believe that a labor-based approach is the way to deal with security, and you do not want to digitally transform this industry in the same way we have with all the other segments, then you should probably be looking at us as a company that you want to work with as we start to continue to accelerate and deal with and manage this global problem. So with that, Peter, I'm going to wrap and open it up for any questions when you are all ready.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Peter. That was a great run through of Xtract One, and again, really the value add that you bring for your customers, but also really the general population too. We do have a couple of questions. I'm going to start off with the first one that I think has been in queue for a while. It's around the DHS review period that you're going through, and there was a question, just any sort of update from that, and what sort of level are you looking for? It's designated or certified. So I'll let you answer that.
Peter, I'm smiling to myself because clearly one of our investors who's on the call is on the call today. I'm guessing it's someone like Doug Shull or someone else who asked that question on every single call that I'm on. And the answer is we are knee deep in the Department of Safety Act activities. We're going for a designation level. That was at the recommendation of the DHS. Originally, we were applying for a DTED, and they said the broad efficacy and proven value of our solution in a broad set of customers warrants us going for the higher level of DHS Safety Act. Unfortunately, the American government moves slowly, as anyone who submitted their IRS tax forms back in April can confess to. And so we are pushing on the government as hard as we can. And most importantly to me, we've got customers, strong voice customers, who are also pushing on the DHS as hard as they can too.
Excellent. Thank you for that update. Just to bring it back a bit to the AI component, you've obviously mentioned that your addressable market, you're being dragged into new areas. Given that they're different, I guess, products that patrons or employees would be walking through these varied sort of different venues that you'd be addressing, is there any changes or requirements for the AI where, from a learning perspective, that it can't translate between the different venues, or is there a baseline that's consistent? And again, as you move into these different venues, it continues to improve?
Well, I think, Peter, the nice thing about our AI platform, and it's true AI, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent. I always kind of laugh to myself a little bit these days, and I'm sure some of the other CEOs could comment on the same thing. It's fascinating to me, the proliferation of the word AI, because it's hot these days. But unfortunately, the marketing people have got a handle on that. They want all the traffic to their website, so they sprinkle AI over everything they do, whether your company is true AI or not. I keep expecting to go to the grocery store and see a box of cornflakes that says, now with AI. And so having said that, I'm proud of the fact that because of what we did with the Xtract AI company, and that acquisition, we really have got a very interesting purpose-built engine that's very flexible and very malleable to deal with different environments. And so what we're very proud of saying is that we don't have to force fit the customer into our business model or our product solution flow. it can actually adjust and fit into the uniqueness of the customer's unique requirements. One of our customers, Kia, said it best. They checked out another technology and they had to completely redesign a multi-billion-dollar operation that generates $1 million of revenue every minute to fit around the other technology's limitations. They dropped that, they dropped us in, and they found that we fit right into their business operation flows without changes because of the malleability and flexibility of our solution.
Perfect. Great. Being cognizant of time, Peter, I want to thank you very much. Great to have you on and present the Xtract One story. So again, really do appreciate you taking the time today.